everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka MBT, back with another Twitter thread. So, in Yu-Gi-Oh! The trading card game, most cards are balanced and well received by the community, but sometimes, usually about once a format, there's a card that not only is game-breakingly strong, but also is universally disliked by the player base. A card that we all just sort of agree would be better if it was not around. And for some reason, Konami continues to drag their feet about these cards format after format. Right now, I'm sure you know it is Mystic Mine, a card that prevents people from activating effects and attacking if they have fewer monsters on their side of the field than your opponent. A card so unbelievably broken that not only did it win the most recent YCS as part of a Stacks-style deck, it's been splashed in pretty much everything for the entire time that it's been legal. It trended for a couple of days. That's how egregious this card is. But it's hardly the only one. So I asked you today, what other cards outlived their welcome? Artifact Scythe is probably the #1 answer. This card is settable off of Artifact direYGO, which means any 2 monsters plus an additional effect activation can get you there. Usually you're going to Crystron Halqifibrax to destroy it with a tagged out copy of TG Wonder Magician, which locks your opponent from the extra deck constantly. This card at 1 is fine, doesn't need a ban, but it's whack it lived at 3 for so long. Non-conditional draw spells are so strong in Yu-Gi-Oh! 37 cards being legal for years is wacky. As we move away from hand traps being staples in every single deck at 15 copies, I think we're going to start seeing this card specifically come back. You know, if what you need to draw into isn't necessarily a hand trap or something that you need to open and is something like a Dark Ruler No More or a Mystic Mine, this card's going to get a lot better. I cannot tell you how many formats in history of Yu-Gi-Oh! Alex and I just stare at each other and we're like, can we please fucking Gentleman's out of Mystic Mine? Out of Vanities, I misspoke. Minor spelling. Yeah, this is for Duel Links, but Tretch probably should have been hit like 45 times over the course of its lifespan. It got to the point where most good decks got a key card limit too, just so they wouldn't be able to play Tretch, and it lives to this day. He didn't last very long compared to some, but it was much longer than it should have been. Oh, I'd argue that you are absolutely correct. Shockmaster was legal for like 2 years. There was a huge period of time where you were either playing a dipshit monster combo deck or a rank 4 strategy designed to beat those decks by making exactly this card. So boring. Soul Charge was released and then immediately limited and then immediately banned, right? Am I wrong? It was banned in 2018. What? I just blocked this out of my fucking mind? What? 3 emergency call, 3 instant fusion, 3 twin twisters, and then the 1-ups. We have Soul Charge. Whoa! I played this card? What the fuck? This card was legal for probably 6 extra formats. It was broken from the get, but it was really, really broken, like, for almost 2 consecutive years, enabling all types of board-building monstrosities and FTKs. I cannot believe they banned A Assault Core. To this day, the funniest ban in Yu-Gi-Oh's history. This is a good one, yeah. Chaotic Meatball says, I cannot fathom how long Cold Wave was legal. Printed in 2002, this card remained at 3 until September 09, and then was finally banned in March of 2011. Anyone who's played Edison can tell you this card's insane, but anyone who's played formats that are not Edison, but happened prior to it can tell you that it's still extremely good there. Like, oh my god, there are so many OTK strategies that this enables, and it's just so frustrating to play with. I don't know why this fucking card is still legal. It almost became a meme how long LP avoided being banned. I mean, this thing, I think, was suspect in, like, the end of 2018, and he lived, like, a year and a half past to the end of his lifespan. Not exactly sure because I didn't play this format, and it's hard to tell with History of Yu-Gi-Oh! Alone, but to me it seems like the Dragon Rulers way overstayed their welcome. You know, this is an arguable point. Certainly the Dragon Rulers being dealt with on 3 subsequent ban lists in the wrong possible way was bad, but when the Dragon Rulers were at 1, there actually was a significant amount of time where I was completely fine with them being legal. Like, it was kind of nice to have 1 apiece, and, like, it was a neat series of monsters you could mill off Lightsworns or something. Yeah, I do not know why this card was legal for as long as it was. People just didn't understand that it was really good. Now that GOAT players, Reaper players, and Edison players, like, can work with modern deck building sensibilities in which we understand that information is just, like, so absolutely powerful, holy shit, is Trap Dust Shoot a broken card. It took them a decade from the release of this card to actually ban it. IO was a problem when it was printed, they banned it, and then it came off and it was still a problem. Oppression was legal for a very, very long time. It's in Edison at 2. No one likes playing with the card, but I will make the argument that its inclusion in formats like Edison is actually a good thing. I think it's actually a lot more fair than people give it credit for. No deck that plays this doesn't also want to special summon in some capacity. Like, reducing the deck or the game down to just Gemini Elf beats isn't a sufficient win condition in Edison format. There's just too many powerful sweepers at the spell and trap card zone. You can interact with it in a ton of really interesting ways. You know, spell and trap cards, of course, completely hose it. Treeborn Frog absolutely dumpster it. Vayu absolutely dumpsters it. There's a significant amount of cards that just like prey off of the fact that Royal Oppression doesn't work exactly the way that you would want it to, and few cards have like a hard once per turn on them. And you can side in Trap Eater. Trap Eater is a very funny card in Edison. I hated this card every second it was legal. When it finally got banned, I rejoiced. I can't believe people play OCG format and enjoy it in Master Duel. It's just so fucking unfun to play with and against. Even if you draw it in your opening hand, just the knowledge that you and your opponent get to play the Max C minigame and it's unlikely that it even wins you the game is frustrating. The number one most frustrating scenario to get Max Seed is when your opponent does a full combo and then you start your turn and with 15 negates up, they go Max C. I remember seeing this in History of Yu-Gi-Oh! But after this card / Hunter and Inzektor were wreaking havoc on the format, Konami decided to limit it instead of banning it, even after the limit windup was still Tier 1. Zenmaity, crazy card. So strong that if it came back today, Windup could be splashed in some really good decks. It is stunning in retrospect that Fairy Tail Snow was able to survive for 2 years because Grass was the problem card. I think we widely agree now that this is one of the most degenerate cards ever and shouldn't have come back to 1. At the time that Fairy Tail Snow was banned, people were like, you can trigger all the Thunder Dragon effects. Like, that's broken. Now what? You get to trigger the effect of Topologic Bomber Dragon 6 times in 1 turn? It's just absurd. Like, maybe one of the worst takeoffs of the ban list of all time. Brilliant Fusion was really playable for a long time. Melody's Correct says, I wouldn't say people were clamoring for its ban, but an extra normal Foolish Burial and an extra monster for extension should not have been legal for as long as it was. Yeah, this card, if you're not familiar with it, was played in absolutely everything, pretty much the entire time it was legal. From strategies that did not really care about the extra deck, like Monarch, to strategies that would absolutely use it to facilitate a broken combo, like Thunder Dragon. Why do we still have these cards? You know, it would be different if there weren't like a finite number of them. If there were just like a quadrillion monsters that did this, it would be like, oh, well, we can't ban them all. But there's 3. Cannon Soldier, Toon Cannon Soldier, Archer. Just ban them. Not sure if it counts, but in Adamancipator Eldritch format, people were so annoyed at the non-ban list we got due to COVID that PPG even made their own ban list with block and Eld cards in it. You could argue that that's the thing that, like, stopped PPG being one of the premier tournament hosts for, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! But I will still defend that format to its death. It was a 17-day-long format that people just spent so much time crying about. Heavy Storm lived 11 years past release. It was good day 1. 11 years. Summon Sork was legal for an entire year. This card is responsible for as many, if not more, stupid board-building bullshit and FTKs than Firewall Dragon. It comboed with itself into literally anything. Yeah, I don't know why this guy stuck around. This little fucker was involved in nothing bullshit for years, and everyone was just kind of confused as to why they were still allowed to do it. I think the card that actually took this guy behind the shed was Link Kuribo, because there was finally a way to take advantage of a recursive monster that's 1 star. You would link him off for Link Kuribo, summon him back, Link for a 2, summon him back, trigger the Link Kuribo Engrave, Link for a 3, summon him back. There's actually, I think, 2 videos that I put out the week before we got the list that included him, and they're Dark Lord and Blue Eyes White Dragon, like U-Link FTK. You would just like, whoop, good luck. Now we're just going through the level eater motions. We're going to reduce the level of our Super Bia down to 4, after which we can't use the level eater on it anymore, then return it with a Firewall Dragon. All in all, I think there are a multitude of reasons as to why Konami doesn't always hit these cards that we want. Sometimes they know that down the pipeline there will be an answer to these problems that will resolve the issue entirely. I mean, just look at how Invoked has been crept out of the meta after people asking for its ban for almost a decade at this point. Most of the time, I think it's because it can take a lot to admit that you've made a mistake, but hopefully 3 YCS wins is enough to get mine out behind the shed. Please. And before Niagara, if possible. Did you mention Grinder Golem? No.